What's up, everyone? I am Chobopeon here at MLG Anaheim, Day 3. The event is finally over. DRG taking the championship, as I'm sure you all know. And we're going to recap all the major events of the day for StarCraft. But first, the first thing I did, and for me, one of the most important of the day, was to get to talk to Clutch about yesterday's big Kespa tournament. Flash, Jaedong, Bisu, Stork, and a whole cadre of Koreans coming over. I got to talk to Clutch because he made it special. I think he hyped up the crowd, he hyped up the Koreans. I got to talk to him about how special it was for him to introduce Brood War after being a teenager who idolized these guys like so many of us, and how the Koreans prepared in coming out and being loud and extremely friendly to the crowd. The crowd loved it. Here's what Clutch had to say.
Well, first of all, Brood War to me was a very special game. I played it as a teenager, and back in the day, you know, being a kid and playing video games, people would say it's just a game, don't invest so much time into it. And to me, seeing this event and seeing these players that were the best of the best when it came to Brood War, and now they're transitioning to Starcraft II, it meant a lot to me from my childhood and then up to this moment. These guys were poised, they're ready to go. We had a little bit of fun backstage kind of organizing how exactly we were going to do it. But when I found out that I would be the one introducing them, I took that very seriously. I had known weeks in advance, and I made all kinds of preparations to make sure I was ready, that they were ready, and that we could present something very memorable. And I think that's what we saw.
You've always had a flair for the dramatics and getting everyone pumped up. Your voice, I don't know what you've been doing lately, but you were screaming. It was like the beginning of a boxing match or a wrestling match. And on that note, then the Kespa players come out. And what a contrast with the GOM players. I mean, the GOM players in general, with a few notable exceptions like MC, DRG obviously, are introverted and shy. The Kespa players come out and there's backflips and there's get loud. So talk to me, what was the conversation with them? How did they prepare and get ready to pump up the entire crowd here?
Well, this is such a huge event, not only for Major League Gaming, but for Kespa and the history of esports in Korea. And they were ambassadors of that. And I believe they wanted to make a great example of what they were all about. And with the Korean culture, they're a little bit more reserved. They don't have as much showmanship compared to other cultures. But the American audience loves that showmanship. And so I believe, I don't know who prepped them exactly or who gave them the pep talk or who said, hey, it's okay to do this, but they were confident enough to do it. I had no idea Leto was going to do a backflip. I didn't know half the things they were going to say. At first, I was told Fantasy was going to say something in English, and then Wani came up to me and said, okay, these players are going to say something in English. And then JP and all of us were like, okay, these players are going to say something in English. So it really just came together in such a magical moment, and I'm so glad the crowd was so into it, and that really feeds into the players. You know, they're on a plane going to a country that is so foreign to some of them. Some of them have not even been here before, and for them to receive that kind of welcome is something that is so beautiful.
An amazing bunch of matches today. Stefano and Sase, the two great foreigner hopes, and of course it ended up with Marine King and DRG in the winners finals. DRG coming away with the win there, coming out celebrating in typical flamboyant DRG fashion. The entire crowd going wild when he flips on his trademark green sunglasses, of course. We got to talk to DRG, and he talked about how he then predicted he was going to win. He was used to Marine King. He wanted to play Marine King again, and he knew he was going to go on to win the grand finals.
So now you've played Marine King 6 times, and what seems like every MLG in the past few months. He had won the first 4, but now you've won the last 2. How do you think that things have changed here? How have you been able to turn the tide and now beat Marine King twice in a row?
I'm gaining more confidence. I'm praying to catch up, for a spirit of catching up. So as I'm going forward, I want to match his level as I get closer and closer to reaching his level.
One of the great aspects of MLG Anaheim was the huge presence of Heart of the Swarm, and the entire Blizzard team was here to talk about it. Slasher was able to talk to Dustin Browder, the game director for Heart of the Swarm, and Dustin talked to Slasher about providing players with more options.
So we're working very hard on trying to make these races, provide new strategy, new tactics, new options, and we're attacking this in a couple of different ways. We're trying to focus on, places where players right now feel like they have to go only one direction in their tech choices, and we're also trying to give races some additional options that are not currently available to them. So, for example, on the Protoss side, we have a unit like the Oracle, which is a unit that gives the Protoss a real ability to raid against the enemy. This is a unit, very fast caster unit that can fly around. It can put a force field on top of minerals, preventing the enemy force from collecting from those minerals from a short time. Very powerful disruptor of enemy economies. And this allows the Protoss to be a lot more aggressive with their raiding tactics than they can currently really be. We've also got units like the Mothership Core, which is a sort of first stage of the Mothership. You can only build one of these. It can jump from nexus to nexus. It can only be attached to a nexus, but it's got some key abilities that allows the Protoss to be a little bit more aggressive again. It's got a base defense ability. It turns it into sort of a really powerful photon cannon, which can allow them, the Protoss to defend themselves. They happen to be away from their base or prevent themselves from certain types of all-in aggression from enemy forces. It's also got a mass recall ability that allows the Mothership to bring units home if it needs to. And this is, obviously you can use like a town portal from Warcraft 3 to protect yourself from raids, but I think it's far more likely that you'll see it used to allow the Protoss to be a lot more aggressive with an initial push. If the push doesn't work out, the Protoss can just call everything home and they don't have to sacrifice everything in a long run back across the map. We've also got units like the Tempest, which is a very powerful, long-ranged capital ship for the Protoss, which allows the Protoss to really have a strong, strong reason to build from the Stargate, which is something we don't see a lot of Protoss players opting for right now, legitimately. There's a few units they can build in certain scenarios, but this gives them a real weapon that they can use from the Stargate, opening up another set of choices and another set of strategic options for the Protoss. When you look at the Terran, this is a race that has a lot of options in play right now. So the Terrans are a little bit more focused on a few very specific things that we're trying to accomplish. So we're introducing a battle Hellion to the Terrans, and this is a transformation of the Hellion that gives him a lot of extra armor, and it gives him the ability to have sort of a cone-shaped area effect attack. This allows the Terrans to really deal with things like mass Zealot Archon that sometimes happens in endgame scenarios with Terrans versus Protoss players. And so we're really focused on trying to give them some additional tools to deal with that. We've also got a new unit called the WARHOUND, which really is focused on destroying vehicles. It's an anti-mechanical unit from the factory. And you combine that with the Battle Hellions, it gives the Terrans some very legitimate factory-based play against Protoss. The Warhound can also be used to take out a lot of siege tanks, which can be very useful. When you see sometimes in Terran versus Terran games, there's a lot of stalemates that can kind of occur, where it's really just about Viking count at the end of the day and lining up your siege tanks. So we're trying to give the Terrans a way to sort of break through that. We're also trying a little bit of an experiment on the Terrans with a unit called the Widow Mine. And this is a unit that really we're trying to do to get you the Terrans to put some of their food and resources out on the map, kind of away from their main army. It's a unit that they can really get a lot of value out of if it's away from their stack. And what this does, it's a small little mine that you can move around, and it will leap up and attach to enemy units, ground or air units. After about 10 seconds, it will detonate, doing a lot of splash damage to units nearby. And so this is a very powerful weapon the Terrans can use to stop raids, to stop drops, to maybe soften up an enemy before they close into battle. We'll see how that one works. That one's a little bit more of an experiment. And for the Zerg, we're seeing, in many cases, the Zerg are having some troubles when they get ahead in a game. Maybe you kill somebody's army in the middle of the field, but you didn't destroy everything, but you killed a lot of stuff. Any other race at that point might be able to go on to close out the game within the next few minutes. But since Zerg have a lot of trouble pushing through a tight area of the map because their armies are so numerous, their troops have such typically short range, they have trouble really pushing through a small area. They have a lot of troubles in these scenarios. They're just forced to sort of expand as a result. They don't have the option to really push an advantage. So trying to give the Zerg some weapons with units like the Swarm Host, which is a unit that spawns endless troops for the Swarm. And they're timed life. They only last a little while, but you can send them in waves against the enemy. And this allows the Zerg to really push through an area that's controlled heavily by the enemy. Or units like the Viper, which is a caster that allows the Zerg to abduct enemy units and bring them right underneath the Viper, often when there's a lot of enemy Zerg units waiting to destroy them. So they can use these things in conjunction to maybe disrupt these very difficult to crack positions that the Zerg have had so much trouble with. We've also got a lot of upgrades sort of scattered throughout the game, things things like a burrow charge ability in the Ultralisk, which allows the Ultras to close quickly with its enemies, or a regeneration upgrade on the Reapers, which allows Reapers to hit, run away, automatically recharge their health, and come back into attack again. We're hoping that these kinds of upgrades will make some of these units that we feel are very close to being very solid parts of the game really sing and really be a core part of people's strategies.
All the players here and the fans got to play Heart of the Swarm on the computers directly behind me, which was a lot of fun. Finally got to see all of the units that we had just previously seen in movies. I stopped a few fans who weren't too shy to talk about the game and what their impressions were. Some of the fans wanted to nerf all the other races. Some of the fans had some very constructive things to say, and some of the fans were 8 years old, but they still got on camera and still gave us their opinion.
I'm a Zerg player, so what I do obviously is nerf all the other races. Like, that's the first logical step in my mind. But if I was just trying to make the game better and not make it easier for me to win, I would probably like nerf in some way or just plainly take out the evading movement, because that's just overpowered.
I might be a little bit biased for Zerg, but I would like the Locust to come out a lot faster. Because I'm like waiting for them to come out, like the Swarm Horse are getting attacked, and I'm like, okay, cool. I had to wait another half minute for them to make more units. And I'm like, all right. Well,
yeah, I played with them, and it did take a long time, but they're really powerful.
Really good, dude. Like, oh my god, I thought they'd be fun to use, and I was like, I'll just keep making them. Because they don't, I use them as defense, I can use them to attack or anything. And it's nice for Zerg to have a siege unit that doesn't have to be like all the way in the end of the game.
Another unique aspect of MLG Anaheim was the World Championship Series, the USA Nationals wrapping up here, Vibe winning. We got to talk to him about winning, being the #1 player in the #1 country in the #1 game, probably one of the best human beings in the world. He talked about that and his feelings moving forward.
Oh man, I don't even know how to explain it. I feel great. I mean, I really didn't expect to win. I thought it would be really nice when I saw the prize pool especially, and I was just high hopes, but I mean, now that it's actually happened, I'm still kind of soaking it in.
So you are a top Masters player on the Korean server. Can you sort of compare and contrast what the level of play is like on the Korean server in the Masters level to the U.S. Nationals you saw here?
Definitely the Korean server is way more challenging. I mean, the contrast is almost like night and day, because I mean, when I'll play a High Masters or possibly Grandmasters on Korean server, I feel like if I make one small mistake, I'll instantly just lose the game, whereas on North American server, it's a lot more forgiving. You can make like 20 mistakes and still somehow win the game. So I mean, it's I won't say all the players on North American server are easier to beat, but the average is definitely a lot harder on Korean server than it is on the North American server.
You had a pretty cool run through the tournament today. I thought, compared to everyone else, you had the most interesting run. Obviously, the finals, very satisfying with the money and the win. But other than that, what was the most satisfying victory you had over the weekend?
I mean, a lot of people probably say this if they beat him, and I hate to kick a dead horse, I guess, but I definitely felt the confidence for myself when I beat Idra, just because I know who Idra is. He's an amazing player, and the last time I played him in a tournament, he 4-0'd me. So that was definitely like a confidence killer for me, and the fact that now I came back and I beat him, and he's more or less someone I kind of look up to in terms of how good he is and something I would aspire to be. I mean, it just feels great to beat that kind of person for yourself. So Idra's definitely the person I felt the confidence come in once I beat him in the tournament.
So you're talking about how you turned that around on Idra from a 4-0 to a 2-1. You were mentioning before that you feel you're just playing better than you ever have before. What changed to bring you up a level, or maybe even more than a level?
The stress level of myself went way down to make me a better player, I feel, because there's been so many tournaments where I have 100 things on my mind and I'm just thinking about stuff that's not even related to the tournament. And I mean, it's definitely crippled my play, because I'll be off in my own world while I'm playing the game and like not even actually focusing on the game. I'm just kind of autopiloting, and then I'll end up losing a game and regretting it later. And lately, I've actually kind of taken a hiatus from Starcraft up until about a week and a half ago to play some Diablo 3. That's why I was joking on the stage about playing Diablo 3, but that Diablo 3 and playing with my friends, just chilling out, that actually made me just like relax and just have fun. And now I just feel like since I came back, I'm playing better than I ever have. So definitely the stress went down with some Diablo 3, man.
It is a huge mental game. I know, I mean, I'm obviously not on your level, but I find that when I get frustrated, this game becomes pretty much close to impossible. So obviously last night there was the huge KESPA tournament, and they've been basically ranged as high masters in Korea. So as someone who could have sort of a compatible experience as far as the play level, what did you think when you saw them play?
I definitely think they're very good. I mean, I know that their Brood War careers were amazing. You can't even compare anyone to them really, but I definitely think in Starcraft II, they haven't been given enough time yet to really show like top level, better than GSL finals kind of games. So I think right now they can definitely compete with the majority of people, but I think if you give them maybe another year and just see how they develop, I think then that's when you could see some amazing games coming out of them, especially if they're doing their own builds, because then you'll see unique games that you haven't normally seen before, and that would be pretty exciting in my opinion.
So from here on out, you have the North American Championships and you have the Global Championships. How do you prepare for that? How do you avoid the stress that you said was your weakness before? And how do you prepare for the jump in the level of competition?
I'm just definitely going to keep doing what I have been doing. I'm going to still play a lot of StarCraft, but I'm also going to try and balance in have some fun time. Yeah, exactly. I'm not just going to drill myself into the ground and just hate the game. So I'm definitely just going to keep doing what I'm doing because it seems like it's working for me right now and just try and make it go as long as I can.
Finally, of course, the MLG Spring Championship. Alicia going on a miracle run, blowing pretty much everyone's expectations out of the water, including his own, only to come up eventually against DRG. Dongregoo winning the entire thing. Slasher got to talk to him after it was over, talk to him about how he felt about winning and where he sees himself going from here on out.
Going into it, I felt confident because I was confident about my PvP game. So it was not as frightening as it would have been to face off Marine King.
It was Alicia's first ever time in a final, so he doesn't have a whole lot of experience in these type of situations. Did it make you weary at all because of never having played him before in this type of situation?
No, actually, it didn't make me afraid at all. It made me more confident because just logically, someone like that would be very nervous in a situation like that to be in a final game for the very first time. So I went into it with a lot of confidence.
You went for a 6 pool in the very last game. Why did you decide to do that then and there?
Well, first of all, the map was a good map. It was very well suited for a 6 pool, and also because I had the lead in the games, I felt like I could capitalize on a very aggressive strategy and just go for the blood immediately.
Now, before you won this title here, you had gotten really close to gotten second places in many MLGs, just as you did for the GSL before finally breaking through a few months ago, and now you finally won your first big MLG championship. Where does this title rank among the other things that you've won?
Very confident now. I don't feel much different, just more secure in my skills, and I'm very thankful for the people I played here, the people that have made me the player I am today.
This event going in was regarded to potentially be the biggest esports event in North American history. Now, we're not sure if that was the case, but it kind of looked like it. If so, does that make what you did here more important to you?
Well, I did come to Anaheim last time. I wouldn't say it's necessarily what people say about the tournament. I think it's more about the area. But I think in this particular place in Anaheim, the fans have a lot of passion. And that passion seems consistent from the last time I was here to how I am here now. And I feel like because I'm more open to it, I appreciate it a lot more. So I would say it is more important, but only because I myself could appreciate it more.
1 year ago, you made your first appearance on American shores here at MLG, and now 1 year later, you've won your first ever MLG Pro Circuit event. Where will we see you 1 year from today?
If we have another tournament here, you'll see me here, and you'll see me win again here.
Now I'd like to give you the opportunity to say whatever you'd like to. Shout outs to your friends, family, and fans out there at home.
Just thanks to my team MVP team and sponsor Razor and MIM and my family, girlfriends, all of my fans, and keep supporting me. I will do my best. Thank you.
Altogether, MLG Anaheim is probably one of the greatest esports events in North American history. Want to thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for checking out GameSpot.com. Keep it tuned here for every event. I am Chobopeon. It's been a pleasure. Have a good one, guys.